So Cathal McNamara, our alum of 2008. Um, for me, it's truly my pleasure because I remember Cathal at LCC when he was very active as a student council president. So this will be a good moment to refresh some memories, to reunite. But for our audience, I think you will also find a lot of insightful thoughts, and Cathal will share his experience. And as you saw, the theme for today's webinar is finding the right path, and that's where Cathal will be our expert voice, where he will share his experience. So, Cathal, welcome, and how are you?
Well, uh, thank you very much, Aista. What a lovely introduction. And thank you for giving me the chance to reconnect, not just with yourself, but with LCC. And you know, it always is a place that's very dear to me and dear in my heart, even to this day. After all the time has passed, far too much time, as you can see. I've aged a little bit, but I still remember everything as if it was yesterday.
Well, good. We'll try to remember some of those memories, but we, of course, are very much here to delight in who you are today and to learn from your experiences and to give you the floor to share those experiences and give your words of wisdom to the future LCC generation, to the students who are currently studying and planning their careers, but also to the high school students, to the youth who are debating whether LCC is the right place for them to come. So maybe, Kahal, let's start from the beginning of, I mean, you were not a typical LCC student back in the 2004. I think that's right when you came probably to LCC. You came to LCC all the way from Ireland, and you were our first Irish student on campus, I think. Um,
Yeah.
so let's go to the beginning and tell us, well, what had led you back then to LCC, and what has that experience been like, and how it had prepared you for what came next. So we'll be making those transitions, kind of going back to your LCC experience. So maybe let's start with that.
Sure. Well, like as you said, I wouldn't be a typical LCC student in that I'm the first, and I think the last so far from Ireland to have gone through my degree fully in LCC. But for me, I guess my journey to Lithuania began when I was 15 in school, where we actually did an exchange program with students in Kaunas, and so I went to Lithuania for 1 week. They came to Ireland for 1 week, and that 1 week that I had in Lithuania, I just enjoyed it so much that I decided I'd go back and visit. And that's what I did. I made friends. Summer when I was 15, 16, 17, I spent my time many months of the year then in Lithuania, and I decided at that point, I'm going to do something different. It was a time in Ireland where there was a booming economy and everyone was going crazy. And so I decided, you know what? I'm not going to study in Ireland. I'm going to go to where my friends are and go to Lithuania. And so I began by writing to the various universities. And luckily enough for you, the admissions department was very responsive in LCC. Um, Nadia Dolgic at the time, I think. And
Mhm.
we just, it just, it's as I studied it more and I looked at it more, I felt more comfortable and it felt right. And so when I was 17, I left Ireland and moved to Lithuania, and then moved to Clyford then and began my studies at LCC. So not the usual path. Usually people are probably coming from further east to LCC. But that's what I did. So I was taking a bit of an unusual route in that none of my friends, family, anybody who knew where I was going or what I was doing, or would have done it themselves. But for me, it felt at the time the right path, and many years later, it still was the right path for me.
So you majored in business, right? So then let's talk about how LCC education prepared you for the next steps. And I always want to also bring the question of the value of the diploma, because especially for international students, that is a big question. So when you reflect on your education at LCC, on the Lithuanian diploma that you carried with you, and how that helped you or didn't help you, how that shaped what next steps you took, and where you are right now in your career path.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very proud of my diploma, so much so that it is right here. And I've always, it was, when I came back to Ireland, it was the first thing that I framed, and I've always kept it throughout me as I moved from apartment to apartment. So for me, originally when I at LTC, wanted to study psychology, but there was some accreditation issues which have since been resolved. Um, and so then, I looked at the business program and I looked at the possibilities of majoring and minoring, and even not going as far as a minor, but being able to take psychology courses. So what I'm trying to get at is that what I found enjoyable and good for me as a person was that I could pick and choose courses from a variety of areas as I, look to build my degree in business administration. So, like the diploma itself, the 4 year liberal arts model, like I stand by that 100%. And there's a lot of programs over here in Ireland that are 3 years only. They're very specific. But what you often find is people will spend their first year, this is in Ireland, their first year in a program, they get through a year and they're actually not certain that they want to continue because it's not exactly what they wanted. But the benefit of the liberal arts model is you have that year to grow, find your specialty, look at what you enjoy, and then choose to specialize and choose the courses that you want. And so one of the questions that usually came to me from, let's just say, people who wanted to persuade me to stay in Ireland at the time was a diploma in Lithuania won't have any standing here in Ireland, um, which is incorrect because the diploma has all the standing in Ireland. And I've met employers here who've come across LCC graduates, and I use the diploma to apply for my other one, which is my master's there in Smurfit Business School, which would be one of the top business schools in Ireland, and they've got triple accreditation for business schools as well, triple crown accreditation, I think it is. So the diploma itself has opened many doors for me, not just in my career, but also to further my academic studies. And that's what LCC gave me, I guess, when I finished. I knew I wanted to continue my education, but uh, and I guess I come from a background where I think I was the first person in my family to get a degree from college, which wasn't unusual in Ireland at the time. But put it this way, once I had gotten my diploma from LCC, I decided I wanted more, and it helped me to achieve more.
Well, well, the when we were discussing about, what your main theme could be for the webinar, you were very passionate about the theme of finding one's right path, because I mean that's the experience that you had. So I want to give you the floor to be sharing those insights now with our audience.
Sure, and feel free to stop me because I don't want to waffle on too much because I didn't want today to be so much about myself, even though I'm telling my story. But really, as I talk through this, I want people to think about where they are today, where they want to be, and to keep in mind that what's in between those 2 points isn't always clear. So, when I finished LCC, and while working at while I was studying at LCC, I was working in an Irish real estate investment company in Clyde, and I had a fantastic time there. But ultimately, it came to a time where I was deciding that it was time to go home for myself. So what I did was I looked at what I enjoyed. I enjoyed the business development, sorry, the business background that I got from LCC. But at the same time, I felt that I had a natural interest in information technology. And so I looked at applying for a master's that would let me do that. But to support myself while doing that, I went working in what I was good at, which was business development. Anyone who knows me will tell you that I'm rather good at selling them something, especially if they don't need it. And that's probably one of the talents that I have. And so that's what I did. I was working I ended up working in education, but it was in promoting an Irish college abroad to students. So I went from Clyde back to Dublin, and then in my job in business development for a college, I ended up flying back over Clyde to Russia and Kazakhstan and Ukraine, and then back the other way to the US and Canada, promoting Irish education abroad to students from around the world. And so I enjoyed that, and I got to reconnect with a lot of my old classmates from LCC. But the travel was difficult, and so again, it was a case of I need to stop for a second and look at, am I enjoying this? And when you're spending more time in the air than on the ground, you have to stop and ask yourself, is this the right thing for me? And worth mentioning that the backdrop in all of this is that this is after the recession. This is after the IMF came to Ireland. This is a period when there's huge unemployment in Ireland, and people from my age group are leaving the country to seek employment elsewhere. So there was an element of fear in that, you know, I have a job, I need to keep it and work hard at it, because there's no other opportunities out there. But at the same time, I had to do what was right for me. And so it came then to an opportunity that I got to, after the Masters, to work in education again, but it was more, I was based in Ireland the whole time, there was no travel. I was still engaging with Russia and Ukraine, Armenia, Azerbaijan, all the countries again that I would have witnessed at my time in LCC. But I guess what happened next then was that somebody approached me with all the experience that I had and asked, could I start an online education business in Ireland? And so I did that. And that was a case where an opportunity presented itself. There was a lot of unknowns to come with it. I had to take a chance on it. But I did it and it worked out well. So, you know, it's very easy to get into a routine and we hate, I say we, I think myself anyway, but humans, I think, enjoy routine. But when somebody comes and turns your routine upside down and gives you an opportunity and absolutely nothing is certain, uh, it can be quite hard to make a decision, to take a chance and to take an opportunity and to take the risk. But that's what I did, and you know it paid off. And you know, I continued to work in education for a couple of years. But then what happened next was I decided that I wasn't fully utilizing my education and in particular my master's. And so my master's was in digital innovation. So looking at organizations and structures and how we can uh, apply technology to improve it. So I applied for jobs in some of the big companies, a lot of big company names, and I got second, third, fourth interviews there. I got to a point where they were saying that we like you and we think you fit here, but you might fit there. And I said, okay. And I waited for the response. They couldn't decide where I fitted. And then in the end, I decided, you know what? If you don't know where I fit, I'll decide where I fit. And I went and set up my own business consulting agency at the time. So it was a case of I was continuing to do what I wanted to do, but on my own terms. I can tell you that my income took an absolute nosedive, as it would, because when you go from a salaried position to starting on your own, you don't have an office to support, but at the same time you start day one with zero clients, and so that was a risky move, but in the end it paid off, and it paid off through hard work. Not easy to do, and I absolutely envy anybody who creates a startup and makes it work and works hard. But at the same time, you hit a point where you have to decide, is this what you want to do? Because you're so invested in it personally, it can be very hard to make decisions on what it is that you want to do next and if it's right for you. So, you know, during that journey, then I set up, it was called Exponential Consulting, and I rebranded later as Webpartners. And that just came from an exercise of, uh, focusing on what I did and what I did best and what my clients wanted. And it was a web agency. And then at the same time, a colleague of mine, so a partner who I'd met in a previous business, an accountant, we came together to form SME, so Small and Medium Enterprise Accounting.ie. And the whole difference about it was not traditional in the sense that you meet an accountant and go through things face to face, but the business was entirely online because that's really where most things are now. And the last year has really shown that almost any business can be online. And so, I have those two hats, Webpartners and SME accounting, and that's working out well for me. But then next, the next step, I don't know if you want to stop me or anything, but I can talk about the next piece.
Yeah,
Oh,
go to the
Grant.
next two, and the next piece is what you are currently involved in, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what happened was is I had in 2020 I brought on an IT project for a client working with their customer relationship management system. As I got to understand their business, and their background is in personal insolvency. I got to sorry, personal insolvency, for anyone who doesn't know, is it's where people, you can't afford to pay your debts, and this could be a mortgage, it could be a loan, it could be a credit card. And so in Ireland and in the European Union, there's legislation there that helps people return to solvency. So to work on getting their debts forgiven where possible, and restructuring things so that they can continue to function as an economic citizen. So in the extreme, the far end of it is bankruptcy, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with. So basically, I was working for the client, got to understand their business, got to understand their structures, and got some insight into the sector. And there was probably a perception that people who aren't paying their debts are people who are trying to escape their responsibilities, and people who have borrowed and don't want to pay back. But it's not always like that, and there's actually more people who it's not that they don't want to pay back, they actually can't. And so you don't really think of it that way. And so there'll be people out there. You can have, for example, a carpenter who has had a workplace accident or a car accident. They've no arm and they can't work anymore. But the thing is, their mortgage is still due, their bills are still there. You can have, a family who's gone through a separation. Two incomes in a household has now become one income, and then that one income becomes no income because that person's lost their job. And so then there's also an element of from the recession where people took out mortgages on properties where there was huge property bubble, and where they are today is that they've got a home where the mortgage is more than what the property is worth, and there's no chance for them to sell their home and move elsewhere. And when you think of a family maybe growing and having children and getting bigger, when you're stuck in a one bedroom apartment and trying to support a family of several, it's not an easy task by any means. So I guess I got enlightened with, you know, understanding that there is a mechanism out there to help people, and there's people out there who need help. And so I took a chance when I was offered to work with the client, and they've been a fantastic mentor for me, and now I'm still working with them, and they've provided me with experience, and they've provided me with education. I've completed further education in personal insolvency and done a certificate. And really, I guess the key message here is that opportunity can present itself, and regardless of whether you take it or not, if you have somebody who's interested in you, and somebody who could potentially become a mentor to you, you should take that opportunity, because it's a case of, you may not be providing a huge amount back to them, but they can provide so much to you. And if they take an interest in you, don't pretend to know it all, but just take the experience that they can give to you. And I think that's an important lesson that people should have, because speaking from my own experience as a young person, when I graduated, I knew absolutely everything in my own mind. But in reality, you can't do that. You have to, be a sponge and take in from the people around you.
Well, to me, as I listened to you and how you were finding, your path that was right for you, and even the current job doesn't sound like an easy job when you're dealing with families who are in difficult situations. So that does, I mean, it does require a lot of personal strength to kind of be assisting others. But to me, throughout your experience sharing, what I kept hearing are the things that we always try to kind of. That's how we describe our own students at LCC. We're always saying that LCC is for the students who are risk takers, who
Mhm.
aren't afraid to look up the opportunity and to go into the unknown. I mean, this is exactly what you kept doing in your professional career. Another thing at LCC, we are also, I mean, because of the Christian values that are kind of at the core of what LCC is all about, it's always about trying to, be an active member in the community, trying to help others, or the having the high level of ethics, in one's life and career. And that's again where I'm kind of listening to your path, and it seems that this is where you kept looking for that meaning and in finding something that was right for you. So how much of the search of your path would you contribute to or not contribute to what you were taught at LCC, and of the experience and the worldview that LCC helped you shape? And again, I don't want to be putting words into your mouth. Maybe that's that's not what it is. But at LCC, again, we've always talked about transformation, about how we transform our students to be the future leaders in their own societies, whatever that means, and whatever roles they are. But as you are sharing of your experience, like I feel as I'm sure many other people at LTC would feel so proud at, seeing what you have done, where you've looked for meaning and where you have found the meaning.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think from my own experience anyway, and as well as talking to my classmates as well, is that you don't fully appreciate what LCC has to offer and the values that it can instill in you before you get there. Sometimes you don't appreciate them while you're there, and sometimes it takes a couple of years for you to realize that, hold on a second, uh, I've I've changed, and I don't realize how I changed or when I changed, but by going through, you know, those years, those formative years at LCC, it does shape you as a person. And so, originally now, and I think back to freshman Cathal, um, get in, get out, get a degree, start a business, make a load of money, spend it, make some more, spend it again. And that was, the kind of capitalistic profiteering young mindset, let's just call it. But well, it didn't happen for a start. But as time went on, what became important is just finding a bit of meaning in what you do. And so throughout my career, I went from working for someone to working for myself. Oh, sorry, working for someone, then managing people, then working for myself, and then working to help people. And so each step of the way, I found that the values that I had that I got at LCC helped me. And so, there's some things like servant leadership, which, if there's anyone tuning in from the US, they might understand, where you're leading by example. But that wouldn't be common on a curriculum here in Ireland. And for those who don't know, or those incoming, you'd have a team together, and it's not a case of you do this, you do that. It's okay. Let's do this together, and let's see what works together. And play to people's strengths and lead from within and with people, as opposed to, you know, um, I guess the alternative. And you often see these pictures on LinkedIn, a leader versus a manager. But it does come down to things like that. And so, that's, the leadership values that come into play. And, at my time at LCC, I was involved in the student council for, 3 out of my 4 years there, doing the events. And something like that, you're giving your time. It may not have been appreciated by everybody, but a big part of my time, and I probably appreciate it more now, was spent uh, creating the events, working with then when I was president, it was working with others to make the events, um, that everyone attended. There was always huge attendance. We were making people happy. We were creating joy, and things like that. Working hard on something to bring joy to people kind of always stood with me. Now that's in the entertainment sense, but in my career, I can say that if you don't feel that you're bringing joy to someone, including yourself, you can sometimes struggle to keep doing what you're doing. And so, that's something that LTC gave me. And then, the Christian values is an important piece too, because, at the end of the day, there's ethics, there's right and there's wrong. There may be people coming to LTC who, you know, may not be as spiritual, perhaps even as I was when I started. But the thing is, it's about keeping an open mind. And, some people can talk about, divine intervention. Some people can call something luck. Some people can call something, I don't know what. But the thing is, it's about being open to everybody and uh, doing the right thing. And, not everyone knows what the right thing is at that point in time. But what you learn over time and, what I've learned over time since I left is if something feels right to you, then it's right. But you have to work hard on getting yourself in the mindset, having the empathy, and understanding that everything you do will impact someone, including yourself, and you just have to make the right ethical choice, and that's important.
Thank you for these insights. I mean, even with you touched very well on the liberal arts educational model and its strengths and how it worked for you. And often when we present LCC educational model to prospective students, we often say that LCC education doesn't prepare the person for the first or the second job. It prepares you, for your fifth or sixth job, or even the job that doesn't exist today, because it's this, education that kind of gives you the broad understanding and gives you the skills, both soft skills and the skills in your chosen program. So in your career pathway, that did come out true. Like you were looking and searching, and gaining the skills along the way. until you found and created something of your own where you feel the meaning is there. So my question would be, what would your advice be for even our fresh alums, like our graduation was just at the beginning of May.
Mhm.
So as they are looking for their own path, for choosing even the direction in which to go and start building their career, what would you advise them based on your own experience?
Sure. Well, I mean, mindset is important, and I'm not going to go lecture on the power of positivity, but I found when I graduated and returned to Ireland then and was looking for employment, I had CEO in my mind and I was applying for jobs which I probably, much higher than what I would have even been offered, and you know, hoping for a bit of luck that you might get something. But what I'd say is that it's important to tailor your expectations, and so. Uh, you need to have the energy behind you to in your job search, and looking for work is a full-time job in itself, but putting the time into your CV, putting the time into uh, looking at all of the options out there for you is important, because right now as a graduate you're a ball of energy and you're a ball of knowledge, but what you aren't is a ball of experience. And so it's important that you look for jobs that will, one, look after your current and immediate needs, but also look for jobs that will complement what you've studied and what you've done. Um, I know from colleagues of mine at the time, classmates, where they would have taken jobs that they wouldn't normally have taken, and that was fine. Uh, but on the back of their mind, even if they did do that, was that okay? I really want to keep an open mind and work on a career path that works for me. And so sometimes it's a case of working your way back. So you might say, okay, I enjoy working in digital marketing and I'd like to have my own agency. That's great. That's an endpoint for you that you can look at. So take a few steps back from that. How would that start? Would it begin with an internship? Would it begin with a part-time role? Would it begin with something in, a complementary sector, maybe in copywriting? There's all these different areas that you can look at. And they always say, if you don't know where you're going, how are you supposed to get there? So you need to like have your path, laid out for you. But then what comes back to mind and back to the theme, so to say, is that uh, the path can change, and so you might start in one place but end up in another. And the main thing for you is that I think for a graduate is just to keep an open mind, and wherever you are at this current point in time, um, give give everything. Like I said, look for mentors, take the experience, and have one eye on your career, because it can be very easy to be just focused on the day to day, that you're missing some of the bigger opportunities out there. Um, so my few words.
Right. Well, thank you. Like I'm sure the graduates and the special students who are seniors, as they are planning out the path, that will be a very important advice for them to
Actually,
consider.
could I just say, actually, just for people who are coming in, because I know this is, alumni as well as people who are maybe coming to join the university. Um, so, like LCC has a big push on student life and the opportunities there and leadership positions on campus. And so, I never truly appreciated the experience that I got looking at, working with a team in student council or events on campus until later on. And the example I want to give is that. You know, in LTC you'll study different courses, and one of them might be conflict resolution, and there's a lot of team building, a lot of team activities throughout your course, throughout the various courses at the university. And so I've witnessed people who've gone into, they finished their courses, not in LTC, but in other universities. They finished their time, they've gone into a job, and they actually struggle very hard to work on a team. They struggle hard to, help motivate people. They struggle to get things done because the teamwork is just so important. And like in the last year, especially, the importance of collaboration and collaborative tools and things like that has really come to play. So, what I'm trying to say in my long way is that embrace the opportunities outside of the classroom on campus, because those are the activities that'll make you a leader. You can't just walk into a room and command respect and authority to lead a team, and that's where the leadership piece comes into play as well. Like you need to get experience in doing it. And they say you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. Uh, I've had some tremendous arguments and problems. And at the time, I probably would have been blaming other people, but in reality, when I reflect on it, it was my style and what I thought was important for people, or my style of leadership. But look, with experience and maturity, you become a better leader, you become a better manager, you become a better teammate. And so that will only come to you from, I think, involving yourself in all the extracurriculars outside of the classroom. So I just wanted to say that.
That's a perfect advice, and especially coming out from you, because as you said, like you were very engaged and very involved, and now when few years have passed, like you are able to reflect on this. Um, so by now, like you've spoken very well to graduates, to students who are studying or who are about to start their studies at LCC. I still want to kind of dig into your words of wisdom for future generations, for those who aren't sure whether LCC is the right place for them. And again, LCC isn't for everyone. There are better places for others, and LCC is the right place for a certain type of student. So, from your experience, like, what would you tell to a future student who is considering whether LCC is the right place? And what would be your advice, and what would you want to highlight besides the things that you've already highlighted?
Sure. Well, I mean, and again, I know because I remember very clearly my freshman year, and meeting students, like local students from Klaipėda, students from across Lithuania, and then across other countries outside of Lithuania. Um, there's some people who come to LTC and have the expectation from day one that, I'm going to get something from here. I'm going to get my diploma. I'm going to get better English level. I'm going to get XYZ. And that's fine. But the thing is, it's transactional. And so what you give, you'll get back. And so if you come to the place and, don't give, and when I say don't give, I'm not talking about giving a financial contribution. I'm talking about give your time, give your interest, give your passion, give give everything that you have, and at the same time be willing and open to accept the knowledge that's going to come through your courses, to accept the friendships and relationships that'll come with it too, and just to accept that this is university. It's a different way of life. You're more independent. You're growing. It's time to cross that barrier and become your own person. You need to have an open mind, and you'll grow. And so, LTC is a place where you will grow, and it'll grow with you, and it'll grow around you. And by you being open, and choosing your path within LTC, I can tell you that LTC is a very supportive place and will help you grow, now and far into the future. So, for people who are coming in, they talk about the silver bullet, the magic solution is, going to a place, the magic solution like LCC. It can be, but the thing is, it doesn't depend on LCC. It depends on you and what you want to get out of the place and what you want to get out of life and your willingness to contribute and grow.
Thank you. Well, I mean, we can keep quoting you on some of the words that you've said, which is amazing. But I do want to read the comment which has appeared on Facebook, where we have a comment saying, well, how much the person appreciates your success story. And the comment is being made that entrepreneurs are born and made. Well, you obviously made your own path, but I mean, anything you would like to comment on this?
Yeah, absolutely. And so then, yeah, so there's often a discussion, even about leadership. Are you born, are you made? Entrepreneurs, are you born, are you made? Um, I think there's an element of people who feel that you're born into it, and I'd say those people usually come from a family or an entrepreneurial family where there's usually a family business. So, you could say that they were born into it, but at the same time, the environment has shaped them. And so, for somebody who has come from a business, sorry, a home or family, whatever it is, where there's no business, are you precluded? Are you excluded from being an entrepreneur? Absolutely not, and it's definitely something you can do. And of course, LCC gives you all the tools that you need to realize that dream. But one thing then as well to say is that success, defining success. I think this is an important thing. Some people define success as being, a millionaire or being a publicly listed company. being CEO, all of these things, which are often linked to a number. Um, what I'd say is that the most successful people I know aren't millionaires. The most successful people I know are the people who are happy. And you define your own success, and don't let anyone else define it for you. If your success is to work and have a family, go on a holiday twice a year, have the ability to travel, do all those things, and that's enough for you, you are successful. You don't need to go any further, because what can often happen is that, uh, you know, it's like a weighing scales in that you have to produce balance. So sometimes your career prospects can go up, but then, your personal enjoyment outside of work, your family, your friends, your relationships will decline. And so we have to be careful about defining success in a financial sense, because what can actually happen is you might have a rake of money in your back pocket, um, but you're alone and you've nobody to spend it on or spend it with. And so just, be careful of the modern definition of success.
Right. Um, I just want to get back at the moment when you decided to kind of create your own path, right? When you said you left the corporate job and just kind of, started from scratch. Well, that requires a lot of bravery, the risk taking. Like, where did you get the strength and to do this and to follow your heart, and what motivated you and what kept you going, like, not, because I mean, I think the fear of failure stops many people to take the steps the way you did.
It does, and I'm not going to say here, that I was a, a clever genius and cracked the solution to doing that. It's there's the decision that you're going to do it and sticking to it, but there's also the decision and preparation that comes behind it in the financial sense. So it's very easy for somebody to say, yeah, quit your job and just go on and start a new business. But by the way, I know you've got rent to pay and you've got bills to pay and you have to eat. Don't worry about that. But the thing is, there are considerations to have. So in this comes preparation, and so you can't just go from out one door and through the other. You need to plan your time and plan your business and plan your cash flow. So not to get into too much accounting or anything like that, but if you look at it very simply, your income's going from a steady stream X to a not so steady stream Y. Very quickly, when you realize that bills are due and there's pressure there, that you need to get working and you need to work on clients. And so, uh, advice that I often give to people who, because a lot of people would ask me about it, they're talking about, I'm setting up a new business and I need to form a limited company. I need a computer system. I need a website. I need this. I say, guys, stop what you're doing, because all those activities that you're doing actually don't generate anything. They don't generate income. And your problem from the very start is income. So where you're telling me that you're going to spend X amount in 2 or 3 weeks building a website, I'm going to say to you, stop what you're doing and go out and get clients. If you're good, your clients will buy from you, whether you have a website or not. But the main thing is get the money coming in, get the work going, and then everything else can follow through. Because you can just spend so much of your time building something, but not, generating a cent of income. And the thing that you need when you're starting a business is income, because otherwise, pressures and stress of it all will overtake your creativity and energy that you started with.
So throughout your career, I mean, and at the point where you are right now, what would you say you appreciate and love the most about what you are engaged in? Like, just
Um,
final conclusions and final thoughts.
like it's for me, it's people. It's always been people. You probably remember the social animal that I was and still am probably. I always take energy from people, and so in the early days of my career, it was I was involved in like the business development and sales and marketing roles, and you take energy from the excitement of the sale almost, and then as you went on and started to have teams and be responsible for people, I took energy from seeing people grow and seeing people do well. And it's always like, for me, it's always rewarding to see somebody grow and get better, and become their own person while they're working with you. And then bringing me up then to my own business consulting and IT consulting, that was watching a client's business grow. And when you see a client's business grow, and then you see them taking on more people, and you see jobs being created, it's rewarding there. And then, back to today where I'm working in personal insolvency, um, like there's times when you're literally saving people from becoming homeless, and it's hard work, and it requires a lot of compromise and a lot of care. But it's just rewarding, and like I take, from people the energy that's generated from doing something like that, and the relief that they have, and that they still have a place to live. So, you know, success for me probably is it's a bit of it's defined strangely in that I often draw my success from seeing other people happy. Now I'm sure that's not very compassionate from a self point of view, but look, if people around me are happy, generally I'll be happy.
So what do you then envision as next, coming up next for you? Where any ambitions, any dreams? But yeah, what's out there for you?
Well, like I said, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So I'm hoping that I can grow more in that sector and help more people. And beyond that, I guess I still need to, hope to develop as a person. Hope to, grow things outside of work. And work on I guess work on myself in that it's important that my happiness is defined, like I said, not from the career aspects, but from personal points. And hopes and dreams. Oh, like, and again, I go back to you don't know where you're going, how you're going to get there. I'll be honest and say that, you know, my mother always said to me, who passed away, was that don't care what you are as long as you're a good person. And so, whatever I do, no matter how I do it, that'll always be in the back of my mind. So, um, I can't give you an answer right now, but I'll be thinking of those words.
Oh, I'm truly, Cathal, like this has been such a delight and so much like the whole time has been an uplifting conversation and inspirational. And it's not just for me, like you can also see the comment in the chat where we have one of our Zoom participants thanking for the opportunity to connect and learn, and that this has been such a blessing. And I would echo those words. Truly, thank you for, I mean, sharing your life and your career and your insights, and then the role that LCC played in your life path. I think that that is wonderful to see where our alumni have gone and what success they've reached and what is success for them and in their eyes, because I think that is as much important to have their own perception and their own formula for that.
And actually, just to say one last thing, because now I know this is being recorded and this is on video. I've always intended, but I haven't been able to, but I still hope to get back to LCC and possibly deliver a summer course or something, some time where I can give something back. So now I have it, it's been recorded.
Now you've
I've said it.
spoken it out and it is on record. So
Uh,
this might come and bite you because we'll
Exactly.
use it.
I'm sure it
But
will. But just to say then, to anyone thinking of joining or any alumni or anything like that, if a place is so good that it makes you want to go back and give your time, there's obviously something magical about it. So there you go.
well, it's a pleasure to hear this, Cathal, and I know that I will definitely pass this comment to our academic division because we do have quite many alumni actually, coming back and either teaching as full-time faculty members or coming and doing, several courses or summer courses. So absolutely, because I think like you would be inspirational in the classroom and students would be excited to learn from you.
Hopefully, but no, thank you very much, and I've really enjoyed it, and you've brought back many good memories, and. Look, actually, just to say, if anyone wants an unbiased opinion, you look me up on LinkedIn or whatever, and if you want to write to me and ask a question, I'll give you an honest answer. So there you go.
So thank you so much for being willing to talk about your experience, about your pathway in search for the right path for you. Thank you for your insights for the future and the current students. I'm sure it's always helpful to hear from real people and real stories in what our alumni have achieved.